Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members of the House, I rise for another moment in Black history today. And I want to talk about Black women being atoms. I have used several analogies over the years to describe how women, all women, have operated in our society as mothers and aunties, grandmothers, sisters, sister-in-law, leaders, Black, white, Asian, women of color, and others throughout the history. These symbolism, for me, expresses our ability to navigate in systems that since biblical days have worked to negate our influences in the world. There are two examples that I often use, and one is that of an octopus. An octopus because women, and some people call them tentacles, but I found out some years ago that they are actually called arms, the 8 extremities, or that's a part of the octopus anatomy. And then I'm using today that I found as I've just tried to express the power of and the influence of Black women, past and present. I'm using the example of an atom to express that Black women in society, that's what we are. And what is an atom? And how are Black women equated to atoms? An atom is the smallest part of a substance that cannot be broken down chemically. Each atom has a nucleus, the center, and is made up of protons, positive particles, and neutrons, particles with no charge. Like the nucleus of an atom, Black women hold the core of family and community together, radiating it with love, hope, and maternal warmth. Next month, we'll be celebrating Women's Month. So I thought it's befitting that I would take time to share my perspective on the great influences of Black women in our communities and all parts of our existence. What I realize is that Black women, much like an atom, for they are fundamentally building blocks of our society. Just as atoms form the foundation of all matter, Black women from the backbone of our communities are providing stability, strength, resiliency, and they are the power that empowers the very existence of the Black community, whether it is at home, the community of faith, or just a community at large. They exist doing what they can do to bring examples of greatness to our community. The Black woman is like an atom because she cannot be broken down, not even after times where she has been disrespected, disregarded, devalued, and discounted. Like an atom, she will not break. Black women still rise with the strength of their spirit, their intelligence, and their divine capacity to overcome. And they continue to rise and be that voice and strength for themselves and for others. Women like Harriet Tubman, the American abolitionist and social activist who, after escaping slavery, made 13 missions to free over 70 enslaved people through the Underground Railroad, never losing one on the cargo. We have women like Ida B. Wells and Sojourner Truth, Merv McLeod Bethune, Barbara Jordan, Shirley Chisholm, Dorothy Height, and Claudette Colvin, the predecessor to Rosa Parks. While many rose to national attention, many of these women did not receive the prominence that their male leadership received. Black women continue to rise out of despair. She is a calm in the storm, and if need be, she has been the very storm itself. Though she is often forgotten in the ain of her history, she still rises with strength and vigor. Like Fannie Lou Hamer, the American voting and women's rights activist, community organizer, and leader in the civil rights movement. She searched up, and often I use this, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. During the civil rights movement, the protests during the 1950s and 1960s, they were doing at times, even though it was very challenging and difficult and overwhelming, these women stood in the gap. These women stood against injustice. These women stood as a iconic leader and force, not allowing any barriers to stop them. Black women have been involved in all that has been and all that has existed in history. And history has not been very kind to them. But I remember these words of Audre Lorde aptly stating, When we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard or welcome. But when we are silent, we are still afraid, so it's better to speak. And it is this acknowledgement of our own power that propels us. So despite facing resistance and opposition in history, Black women persist in speaking out against injustice and advocating for change. In Toni Morrison's novel, Beloved, we see a beautiful captured portrait of strength and resilience of Black women, particularly Seth, the protagonist. And the excerpt reads, "She is a friend of mine. She gathers me, man. The pieces I am, she gathers them and gives them back to me in all the right orders." This passage just showcased the deep bond and support between Seth and her friend, highlighting the role of Black women in uplifting and nurturing one another, again, despite the challenges. The Black women have carried families in her belly, the community on her head, and the race on her back. She is the atom. She's alive and kicking. And we are atoms because we are alive and unbroken. And we continue to show our strength just by sticking together. Mr. Speaker, this is about the past. It's also about the present. And I hope it is about the future. And finally, in these words, Mr. Speaker, the Black woman is the atom. And every time that there's a moment when I'm down and low, I go to history and I look at all of those great iconic leaders and learn about them, those women who made it in spite of, made it and pushed forward no matter how difficult things were. They are the heart. They are the epicenter of our community. They stand on strength and the shoulders. We stand on the strength, their strength and shoulders of great women before us, and so that even greater women should come after us. They are an indelible mark on history in all aspects of life. And I am grateful for the opportunity to be able to stand on those of the past. I'm grateful, and I hope that the atoms that have existed in the past and history, that we can learn from them. I hope we who are in the present generation will also know that we are an atom. And then finally, Mr. Speaker, I hope that future generations will look at those of us in the present and learn from us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.